Welcome to the DEC4 podcast. You can access episodes, companion articles, research notes and links, as well as information about our contributors and supporters at dec4podcast.com. Hope you enjoy the program. Hello and thanks for listening. In this episode, we sample a clip from our Beach Boys book club conversation as our leading contributor Gary Wells tells us how he and a friend managed to find themselves backstage at a Beach Boys concert chatting to Mike, Al and Carl. It's a little comical, poignant and slightly eccentric at various moments, but it's a great story and I do hope you enjoy it. But first, a quick recommendation. Gary was recently on the Love's a Secret Weapon podcast with Donna Loren and Dr. Adam Geraci. The invitation came about as a result of an article Gary wrote on Donna Loren on his website, and it's a really enjoyable conversation. We'll link, of course, on our website and all the usual places. Now, Donna Loren is an actress and singer with an incredible CV. As a teenager, she was signed to Capitol Records in the 60s. She was a featured vocalist on Shindig and appeared in American International Pictures' Beach Party movie series. She was the face of Dr. Pepper and had guest roles in iconic television, including Batman and the Monkees. She has an amazing voice and has also worked with some of the most talented musicians of all time, including the Wrecking Crew and James Burton and members of the TCB band. In fact, actually at James Burton's invitation. So there's more on our website and companion newsletter, including a link to Gary's original article and also Donna Loren's official site and her social media, on which she remains active. But now let's head back 30 years or so. We'll join Gary and his accomplice and find out what happens when they find their way backstage to meet the Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys were appearing at Canada's Wonderland, a big theme park here in southern Ontario, and they had a concert venue there, and there was $7 concerts. Once you bought admission to the park, which, you know, we used to joke, it's like $50 to get into the park, you could go to the concert for $7. And the Beach Boys were there. It was open air and it was fun. There was a grassy section, so there was beach balls and there was partying, and it was a great atmosphere for the Beach Boys. The first year I went with a friend of mine and we saw them. They actually had a matinee type show, 1 o'clock-ish, and then a more 5 or 6, 7 o'clock show. It worked out so perfectly because we went with my friend's older sister and her husband, and we had tickets for the 1 o'clock show and they had tickets for the later show. So it was perfect because we were going to get there and first thing go see the Beach Boys, and then we were going to kill some time at the park while they saw their show. So we walk into the park, we walk right in to see the Beach Boys, and it was a good show. It was people that know the Beach Boys in this era. It was still pretty good. Carl Wilson was still around, and so it was not a bad show. It hadn't descended yet to what, and sadly it is today and for the past 10 years or so. So we saw the show. It was great. We're hanging out afterwards, and I remember there's that game with a bunch of like 2-liter pop bottles, and you throw rings in the bottles to win stuff. But the way they rook, the rings are so small, you can't win anything. But anyways, right in this section, we see Al Jardine walking by, and I said to my buddy, I said, "Am I blind or is that Al Jardine?" It's funny when you see somebody over the years in so many different places and ways, to see them in person, you're thrown off, but you're thinking, I'm telling you, that's Al Jardine. So he went in through a gate, which was obviously a gated, fenced off area. And I guess it was, again, this concert venue was open air. So it was, the backstage area is also open air, grassy hills. And I guess the groundskeepers kept their equipment there, lawnmowers or whatever. I look at him and he looks at me. And when you're young, you know what? You're invincible and nothing can ever happen to you. So you figure, he just walked in this gate. Guess what we should do? Let's just walk in the gate. So we walked in the gate and we walked along a path and we walked by a guy that was looking at his lawnmower, and he looked at us and we looked at him, and he's not tackling us. So this is going to be easy. We end up in an area where there's buildings and there's people milling about, and I'm looking at people and I'm thinking, man, they don't look any different than us. I don't see any. And one kid that was playing there happened to turn around, and yes, he did have a lanyard around his neck with a poster size backstage pass sort of thing. And so I said to my buddy, well, we don't have that. So we do look a little bit out of sorts here. So we saw a group of girls sitting on a hillside, and we said, do you have a pen we can borrow? Because we want to get some autographs. And they said, sure. And eventually we see the big man himself, Mike Love, walk out, and he was surrounded by the girls that danced in the show, and he seemed like, looking back, I don't know that he was intoxicated or not. I know he's not really much of a drinker, really. He seemed kind of mellow and older. And we were a little bit effervescent at the time, and we were asking him if he could sign I think we had, I don't even know what we had for him to sign. And we said to him, oh yeah, we snuck backstage. We're not even supposed to be here. We're really adventuring here. And as he was signing, he said, "You bastards." And we sort of chuckled, thinking, okay, Mike is kind of cool with this. And one of the girls said, "Hey, I'm security." And I looked at her, and she had like a bikini on. I said, like, "Well, you're security. Where do you keep your gun?" And she sort of chuckled. And so I patted him on the shoulder area. Yeah. And there was, I don't know, it seemed like it was wetsuit material underneath his Hawaiian shirt. It was something he was wearing underneath. And I thought that was really interesting. So Mike was Mike, but to me, the best thing was Carl Wilson. Carl was just standing there, and you know how he used to wear the suit with a shirt but with no tie?
Yeah.
And he was standing there talking to one person, and Carl had these brown leather slippers on with the fur around the back. He was really chill looking, and he was very gentle, and I handed him my ticket stub, and he signed it on the back, right on this green Holiday Inn ad or whatever. And there was a white strip at the bottom, and I thought, well, what a perfect place to put your signature. He signed it on the green where I couldn't really see it, so I said, would you mind just signing it there on the white strip? So he gave me another one, and that was great. I asked him how Brian was, and at the time, I mean, what's Carl Wilson going to tell me about what's going on? But he just said, oh, he just gave me a nice generic gentle answer. Carl, he seemed exactly like he's always depicted, just a nice, wow, gentle, a gentleman, a nice man. He said, oh, he's doing fine, and we're going to be doing this together or whatever. Just a real pat answer, which was fine. Al Jardine was hustling by with one of his wives, with his wife at the time. And he was signing something for me, and I said, man, you know what? I've seen footage of you signing people's arms in Prague. You're sitting in the back of the car or something and signing people's arms. And he looked at me weird, and he said, wow, you have footage of that? Where did you see that? And his wife kind of rolled her eyes, and she said, it's in that An American Band documentary. Like, oh. That's where he's seen it. And I said, yeah. He said, oh, okay. And this made me think of these superstars. We know them from all these things. They just know their career and their life. Oh, that's right. My only regret is Bruce Johnston was walking by with a surly, mean look on his face. And he looked like he had somewhere to go. He was walking quickly, and I didn't approach him. I thought, there's one that I've missed. I mean, there's even the Bruce Johnston is one of the few guys in the Beach Boys who had something outside of the Beach Boys. And, with his Grammy win and whatnot. So I would have liked to have had that and just to have thanked him for Disney Girls. But I was intimidated. So eventually, we didn't know if we were going to get thrown out or not, but we ended up just running. And some people were starting to look at us then, but we were done. It's funny that we had seen the show already. We got our autographs. We were laughing at this point. I don't care what they do to us. They can throw us out of the park. Like, I'll sit on the curb. So It was quite remarkable. And I was happy to share it with Facebook groups and all that. But of course, with the internet, so many people have had instances like this where they've been backstage or whatever. So everybody has stories, but I like mine. I think it's kind of cool. And to have stood next to Carl Wilson, I don't know. I kind of like that. It was quite an experience. And I remember, I think it was the summer of 92, they came back to the same venue for about 4 or 5 years. I saw them every year. I was happy. But you could tell a bit of a progression as they went. The year the Good Vibrations box set came out, I believe it's 92. The summer of that show, they were playing different songs from their catalog deeper because, helping to promote the box set. And I remember Carl stood at a keyboard and sang and played All This Is That. And I think I was close enough where I was surprised at the song, and I gestured in a way, and he sort of nodded at me, and I joked with my buddy. He remembers me from that year signing my autograph. I mean, he didn't, but it was funny. The keyboard wasn't fastened properly, and it was bouncing, and a roadie came up and sort of fastened it down. So after Carl had died, you could see, okay, now not only is there no Wilsons on the stage, but something is different here. And of course, articles will bear that out. You learn that Carl was that sort of adhesive. And when it's Mike's band, it's a different thing. So Carl Wilson, what a guy, I tell you.
So I really do hope you enjoyed meeting the Beach Boys with Gary. The original episode is the Beach Boys Book Club, in which we reviewed some important books on the Beach Boys, including The Nearest Faraway Place, Brian Wilson, The Beach Boys and the Southern California Experience by Timothy White. Also Mike Love's autobiography with James S Hirsch, Good Vibrations, My Life as a Beach Boy. And we also consider I Am Brian Wilson by Brian Wilson and Ben Greenman as some additional context. You can find that on our website and on our back catalogue in all of the usual podcast places. That's the Beach Boys Book Club. Don't forget to check out Gary on the Donna Loren podcast. It's really an enjoyable listen. And it's a very cool thing that he was invited to go on there. So I'm sure you will enjoy hearing Gary talking to Donna Loren. And after the credits, we just revisit a very brief and lighthearted moment as we talk about Elvis meeting Roy Webber, the Mayor of Roanoke, in one of the quirkier moments in Elvis on Tour. And that featured originally in episode 1 of our series on Elvis Aloha From Hawaii, which included 3 main episodes, a preview, and then a 50th anniversary supplement. So thanks to Gary for sharing his Beach Boys adventures with us. Thanks to Steve Collins for tech support. Thanks to Gainesville for our theme music. And thank you so much for listening.
Original music by Gainesville, keeping the spirit of Tom Petty alive in Europe and playing great classic rock and roll. Check them out at gainesville-band.de and link to their socials. The DEC4 podcast is also brought to you in association with tellmewheretogo.com. If you love travel, now more than ever, it's important to listen to the experts.
Podcast terms and conditions can be found at our website, dec4podcast.com. You can contact us there or on our social media. Find us on the major podcasting platforms, and we're also on Substack, Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram. This has been George Fairbrother. Thanks for listening. Now, the other one that is a bit of a mystery, they're at the airport at Roanoke, and they've got the mayor for the civic reception as Elvis arrives, and there's this paper bag full of money that has apparently been fleeced from the fans by some kids, and the mayor sort of got this paper bag of money, and as if we're going to donate it to the Salvation Army, and someone calls out from the crowd, "Mayor, are you going to give that money to charity, or are you going to keep it?"
I mean, yeah, the mayor, I don't want to throw him under the bus or besmirch his family, but looking shifty. And, that is a paper bag. That is classic Hollywood. If you want to make a guy look like a thief, give him a paper bag of money. Again, it ends up in the film. And talk about deer in the headlights. Money? Let me think of a charity everybody knows. Salvation Army. Yeah, it's going to the Salvation Army. Yeah, well...
And then it gets actually even stranger, because he goes onto the plane to present the key to the city to Elvis. Now, Elvis, of course, as always, warm, polite, very, very attentive and nice. And the mayor hands him the floral guitar as the present. You're unraveling some mystery for me, because as a kid growing up watching this, I thought, what is happening here? Did he actually say, because you've never played a guitar, we're giving you this floral guitar? It's a pretty weird thing to say anyway. But then Elvis either has deliberately misheard him or has genuinely misheard him. And says, no, I played here several times. I played in Roanoke when I was first starting out. And it's just quite odd.
You make a good point that Elvis, maybe he did mean, or Elvis misheard him. No, I've played Roanoke before. So that is really surreal, very odd on many levels, and of course he breaks the guitar. And my favorite, though, is Elvis winking at the boys and joking afterwards, singing, "Carry me back to old Virginia." Good stuff. That's classic.